Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30 p.m. and I'll declare this agenda briefing forum is open. I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country and invite Councillor Anderson to read out our acknowledgement.
Nang Jarapun Wajak Nunga, Bujak Yankini Nija Bilia Barok. I am honoured to be standing on Wajak Nunga country, on the banks of the Swan River. Nang Kadich Nunga Mort, Ken Kadach Nija Wajak Nunga Bujak, Nang Kadich Nija Nunga Beria Korea, Yeye Bora Belpeni Morich, Nunga Kadijan, Mort We Buja Yeye. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and respect past, present, and emerging leaders, their continuing cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship with the land, which continues to be important today. Yang Yanka Belpeni Nunga, Belia We Mort Nija Buja. I thank them for their contribution made to life in the town of Victoria Park and to this region.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Item 4 on the agenda is announcements from the presiding member. We'll begin firstly with the purpose of the agenda briefing forum. The purpose of this forum is to provide an opportunity for elected members to ask questions and obtain additional information on officer reports in the draft ordinary council meeting agenda. Tonight is not a decision-making forum, nor is it a matter for debate. Members of the public that may be directly affected by an item on the agenda can make presentations, deputations, statements and ask questions prior to the matter being formally considered by Council at the next Ordinary Council meeting, which will be in 2 weeks' time. 4.2 is notice of recording and live streaming. All participation in this meeting will be audio and visually recorded and live streamed on the town's website. The live stream will be archived and made available on the town's website after the meeting. 4.3, conduct of the meeting. All those in attendance are expected to extend due courtesy and respect to the meeting by refraining from making any adverse or defamatory remarks regarding council, the staff or any elected member. No one shall create a disturbance at the meeting by interrupting or interfering with the proceedings through expressing approval or dissent, by conversing or by any other means. All questions and statements made by members of the public are not to personalise any elected member or member of town staff. Questions and statements are to be directed to myself as the presiding member, and I may choose to call upon an officer of the town or another elected member to assist with responses. 4.4 relates to public participation time. There is an opportunity at this agenda briefing forum to ask questions and to make statements at the beginning and the end of the meeting. They are required to be limited to items on the agenda. If you wish to ask questions or make statements about general matters that are not on tonight's agenda, you may do that at the Ordinary Council meeting in 2 weeks' time. The opportunity that exists to ask questions and make statements at the end of this meeting is limited to those members of the public who did not participate in the first public participation time during this meeting. Public participation time will be held for a maximum of 30 minutes. Any additional time must be by agreement from the elected members at the meeting and will be extended in 5-minute increments. As per our usual practice, in order to make sure everyone has a fair and equal opportunity to ask their questions and make statements, we have 3 questions per person as a limit and 2 minutes allocated for statements. If there are very few people who wish to ask questions or make statements, we can be a bit more generous with those times. However, as there appears to be quite a number of people in the audience tonight, it appears that there may be quite a few people who've got questions and wish to make statements. So again, this is so that everyone has the same fair and equal opportunity. 4.5 relates to questions taken on notice. Responses to questions that are asked, which are taken on notice by myself as the presiding member that relate to the agenda, will be presented in the officer's report for the Ordinary Council meeting when that agenda is published under the heading of further consideration related to that item. So, item 5 on the agenda is attendance. We have all elected members in attendance save for an approved leave of absence for Deputy Mayor Bronwyn Ife. There are also a number of staff who are in attendance at this meeting, led by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr Askew. Item 6 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Mr CEO, do we have any declarations of interest, please?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. I've received 3. Item 13.3, yourself, Mayor Vernon, and impartiality interest. I have had communications with Waveconn's General Manager regarding their request for a temporary lease to resolve the impact of the TAN's termination of the previous 20-year lease. Item 13.6, Councillor Devereux, impartiality. I have had contact with community members in person and on social media about the Western Power Community Batteries proposal. And item 19.2, myself, a financial interest. This matter relates to my contract of employment.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Elected members, is there anyone else who has an interest that they need to declare and has not yet done so? Just a gentle reminder, if you do decide that you do have an interest that needs to be declared, that needs to be done before we get to any questions on the item. So item 7 is public participation time, which I now open at 6:36 p.m. I do have a number of people who've given their names to our council liaison officer. I'll call those people out in the order in which they appear on my list, but rest assured, once I've got to the end of that list of people, I'll ask if there's anyone else in the public gallery who would like to ask questions or make a statement, even if your name is not yet on this list. So that will be your opportunity if you wish to be heard. So first on the list is Angela Lenko. If you could please come forward. The microphone just needs to be press the button on the bottom for you to switch it on, and under our meeting rules we require you to state your name and your suburb for the record. Thank you.
My name's Angela Ienko from Victoria Park, and I'm here to discuss about the short-term accommodation at 12B Gresham Street.
So this is item 12.2 on the agenda, I understand?
Okay, my husband and I, and at least 8 other of our surrounding neighbours, strongly oppose the application for short-term accommodation at 12B Gresham Street. Our property would be the most affected by this proposal, as they are our immediate adjoining neighbours, with only a dividing fence between us. On 2 occasions, I believe the owners have already run short-term accommodation without any prior approval or consultation from council. We have been negatively impacted, and this has caused us much stress and anxiety, as we have a young child and feel very concerned for his and our safety due to all the random people that are entering the property. At the time it has been running, some examples of what we've had to put up with are rowdy behaviour, bad language, partying, singing and laughing loudly till about 5:30 in the morning, people ringing our intercom at all hours of the night when parties are occurring at the premises, party buses in our already narrow street, influx of visitors congesting the street, making it very difficult to enter and exit our property safely, the smoking of illicit drugs, hanging their washing to dry on our dividing fence, having a barbecue and then in the morning finding litter and steak bones in our yard, overflowing bins that are not put out on the correct bin collection day, causing a mess everywhere. And the most scary and disturbing thing that occurred was having 3 men climb onto the double-storey roof of the 12B residence, drinking and smoking after a big night of partying. As they came down in the early Sunday morning hours, they stopped to urinate on our dividing fence. It was really disgusting to have to see that. And I've also supplied with my submission photo evidence of the men on the roof as well. The residents of Gresham Street are all long-term homeowners who want to keep our street and community safe and clean. By having these short-stay accommodation, we feel it strongly compromises all our safety and security. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time coming along. I think you're probably made aware that this matter will be up for debate in 2 weeks' time at the ordinary council meeting, which is when council will make its decision on the officer's recommendation.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next on the list, Vince Maxwell.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors.
Sorry, Mr. Maxwell, if you could just do your name and suburb.
Oh, sorry,
please, for the
Vince
record.
Maxwell, Vic Park.
Thank you. And you're speaking about 13.5 and 15.3, is that right?
13.5, yeah.
13.5, thank you.
Yep. So, according to the report, the lease with Black Oak is likely to commence in October this year, or thereabouts. And this is 4 years since the valuation was done in 2021. and as anyone renting in Vic Park will know, the rental market has increased considerably since then. Does the council intend to obtain a current valuation for the site before signing the lease with Black Oak?
Direct that question to the Manager of Property Leasing and Development, Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Brennan. The council does not intend to obtain a valuation for the Black Oak lease. The Black Oak lease is the subject of a binding agreement for lease, in terms of which, once Black Oak have complied with certain obligations, the lease will be granted on the terms that were locked in terms of the council's previous resolutions on this matter, and indeed in the contractual agreement for lease documentation. Thank you.
Your second question, Mr Maxwell.
Thanks. Although, as stated, Black Oak's lease will only be the $122,500 per year that the property was valued at in 2021, and I'm sure Black Oak will be using current valuations for the subleases and not using valuation from 2021 themselves. What is the total value per annum for the 3 proposed leases, subleases? Sorry.
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. That information is commercial in confidence to Black Oak, but I would point out that Black Oak have invested in constructing and renovating and heritage restoration of the buildings in order to achieve the rental returns that they're proposing to obtain through the subleases. Thank you.
Your third question, Mr Maxwell.
In considering the terms of these subleases, how much has the town spent so far in legal fees, and will this be reimbursed by Black Oak?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. I will take the question on notice as to the exact amount of the legal fees, but I can confirm that the town will be reimbursed in full by Black Oak. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Maxwell. Did you want to make a statement as well?
Do you want me to do that now?
Well, it is public participation time, so we do it all at the same time.
All right, so it's in relation to the same thing. So in 2021, a special meeting of electors was called to raise concerns about the town's proposed deal with Black Oak, and those concerns were ignored. Council went ahead and signed what I believe will be remembered as one of the worst financial deals in the town's history. A private developer, owned by one of Perth's wealthiest individuals, has been granted use of Edward Millen House, its outbuildings, and 1.4 hectares of prime land for 70 years in exchange for just $122,500 a year in rent. Worse still, that rent was valued using a 2021 assessment over 4 years out of date. The rent has no rent reviews, and it's capped at just 2.5% annual increases. Since that 2021 valuation, by comparison, retail rents in Perth have risen by 15 to 20%. Council rates have gone up in that period by 23.4%, and you yourselves have given yourselves a pay rise of 24.8% over that period. Yet Black Oak, which has had free exclusive control of the site for a couple of years, will pay nothing extra. The rent hasn't even started, and we're already well behind market value. And now they are planning to sublease parts of the site at full commercial rates, turning a tidy profit. This is a terrible deal. It always was. Future councils and ratepayers are now locked in for generations, while one of Perth's richest developers profits handsomely from a public asset. History won't forget this. Your names will forever be tied to this deal, and your legacy will be the loss of a public asset for a pittance.
Thanks, Mr Maxwell. Next on the list, Jerry Pruitt. Please come forward, state your name and your suburb.
Jerry Pruitt, Victoria Park. I'm here tonight representing the Safe Burswood Park Alliance, a group formed early this year to oppose the racetrack component of the Perth Entertainment and Sporting Precinct. We now have a membership of over 1,000 and have presented a petition to WA Parliament requesting a full inquiry as to how this project came about A change.org petition received almost 9,000 signatures and a parliamentary petition 7,000 signatures. It is a measure of the anger out in the community. I would like to thank the Mayor and councillors in potentially making this issue one of the advocacy priorities of the town. This racetrack was announced with a massive amount of chutzpah by Premier Cook on 12th of January. Imagine the noise, atmosphere and crowd as V8s fly around a new and specially designed racetrack in Burswood Park, just a stone's throw away from the city. It will be incredible, said Deputy Mayor Safiotti. With noise the most environmentally damaging feature of this project, the trite explanation from the project team that it will just dissipate just does not hold water. It will in fact bounce off the concave surface of Crown Towers, which acts as a giant loudspeaker. As the Mayor has already pointed out to the media, Camfield Drive, as part of this circuit, has already acted as a beacon to the Hoon element of society. The tragic instance of the poor young girl who was thrown metres into the air by a car recorded over 90 kph. We can only expect more of this behaviour if this street circuit goes ahead. This precinct trashes the Burswood Park Master Plan, which was developed after countless hours of public consultation and with the prospect of an urban forest gone with it. By way of contrast, the PESP held 4 public consultation sessions, all at Optus Stadium, which morphed into drop-in sessions, after it was glaringly obvious that the racetrack was unloved. A count of their post-it notes revealed 92% opposition. The popularity of motorsports events is massively overstated by the industry PR machine. Spectator numbers and TV viewers are often increased by as much as 400%. It does not provide the massive boost to tourism that is claimed. Once the truth comes out, the whole circus moves on to another venue and the ratepayers are left to maintain this piece of over-engineered infrastructure. This racetrack is unwanted, unnecessary and uncosted. Please make stopping this one of your advocacy priorities. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Pruitt. Next on the list, Luana Lissandro.
Luana Lissandro, Lathlane. My questions pertain to 13.6, Western Power Community Batteries. My first question is, will there be any trees or vegetation affected in all of the 3 sites as mentioned in the officer's recommendation, being Coolbardie Park, Parnham Park and Manor Reserve? And will they be removed, I guess?
Going to direct that question to Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Burnham. Take the question on notice, please.
My second question
Need to take
is...
that on notice. Ms
Thank-
Lissandro.
Thank you. My second question relates to area meterage and size of each of the community batteries. What is the total area for each site for the proposed leases as detailed in point 4 of the officer's recommendation, and what is the total area of just the community batteries for each of those areas? And will they be displayed in the next agenda?
It's a multi-part question that you have there. We generally try not to have multi-part questions, but given that there is an area question about square meterage, Mr Denham, is that something you're in a position to answer at this time?
Thank you, Mayor Burnham. Take the question on notice, please.
Thank you. My third
Take that on
question,
notice.
and my final question relates to if any trees and vegetation are to be removed from any of the 3 sites, will the council consider revegetation on any of those sites to basically make up for any trees removed or significant, I guess, native vegetation?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Chair. Can you take the question on notice, please?
Thank you.
You will take that on notice.
I'd like to make a statement. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Almost 10 years ago, in 2016, Lathlane Park had approximately 88 trees removed. At Coolbardie Park, there was a protest by community members who donated trees at Coolbardie Park. One of those trees sits possibly in the area for the community battery, and I really would like the council to basically give consideration to replanting if the decision by council is to go ahead with those two sites or look at another site. I did go to Higgins Park. There is a transformer box at the corner of Cretan and Hillview Terrace, and there are no trees probably within a vicinity. I had a look at Manners Reserve as well, and looking at the diagram, it's indicating that it goes towards the left of the transformer box, but I'm wondering whether it should really go to the right because there's space there that it doesn't knock out trees either. So I really want council to consider, you've put in an application, that tree on Coolbardie Park is now over 8 metres tall. It's a red river gum, and I would like to see it retained, and perhaps there could be one community battery in Eastvic Park and one in Carlisle. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Jeff Stancliffe. And if you could just state your name and suburb, please. And I understand you're here to speak about item 11.4.
I am,
right?
yes, the
Thank you.
Burswood racetrack.
Thank
Jeff
you.
Stancliffe from Burswood. It's just a statement. I think the council itself should make more efforts to involve the EPA in the discussions about what's right and what's wrong for this proposed racetrack. I've been doing a bit of research just this week and other weeks, of course, and I came across the Kwinana International Multiplex EPA study that was done prior to that complex being built. And one of the statements that they're making here is that the Claremont and the Ravenswood residential areas should not be moved. The racecourses should not be moved to other residential areas, and should be moved to the industrial site where it now is at Kwinana, where at the moment the government is now saying that the Wanneroo racetrack, which is on an isolated bush setting, should be moved to a residential inner city area. It seems absolutely ludicrous to me. I looked at the map of the Wanneroo racetrack, and it really is in an isolated site. There's nothing round it for kilometres. So I was wondering why this site has been basically closed down and they was moving the site to Burswood. And then as I looked at the site at Wanneroo, I realised that if they lost the racetrack up at Wanneroo, it would probably open up maybe, 20,000 home unit sites up there. A northern corridor which could be used for other uses, and it's not being mentioned yet. Locally at Burswood, if the racetrack goes ahead, we've probably got another 1,000 units to be built on our site yet. A door 1, a door 2, tower 4, tower 6, tower 7, probably 1,000 units. It wouldn't be viable to build those units if we get a racetrack in front of us. People aren't going to pay 13,000 a square metre to 15,000 a square metre to overlook what's basically an aerodrome. It's just concrete mess. That would result in 1,000 units and $50,000 stamp duty being lost, which would come up at $50 million to the Treasury, which they're going to lose. Taking it further, we've got the Belmont Point racecourse, the Belmont Point racecourse and the surrounding units that are going to be built there. There's probably going to be another 4,000 released down there. And let's say there's going to be another 200 million in stamp duty is going to be lost. And then we come down to the rates. If all this building was to go by the council would probably lose about 10 million a year in rates, all for a racetrack that no one wants to watch. That's it. End of. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Stancliffe. Next on the list is Alan Bajada. Apologies if I've mispronounced your surname in relation to item 12.2.
Alan Bajada, Victoria Park. I'd like to reiterate what Angela said. I live across the road from 12B, and my front bedroom is virtually opposite the driveway, and so I cop all the noise of the cars coming and going up to 3:30 in the morning, loud noise, etc., and bad behaviour. So I am against short stay there. And my neighbours next door to me who are away on holiday in the caravan, luckily up in Broome, they made a submission and they've never received any acknowledgement or an email regarding this process that was happening tonight. They're very upset about that. And another neighbour as well who put in a submission, she has not been advised as well. So I don't know what the council... And my submission, which I hand-delivered, was misplaced. And they didn't find it till Thursday when someone made an inquiry about my submission. I didn't email it. I thought I'd do the right thing and hand deliver it and it wouldn't get lost in the mail. Okay. Another point would be that the actual owners of the house are not making the submission to the council with our objections. It's from a private company called Fire Property Group, and they're the people who are promoting the short-term stay for those premises. And problem being is the actual owners of the property then will be at arm's length from any problems with the site which we have to endure. And I don't think that is right. They should be made accountable, not the lessee, actually people who are leasing it out or for short-term rentals. The other thing, that's about it on that record. All the complaints that Angela made, I actually virtually made the same complaints, and we didn't even, make notes beforehand, which is we all had the same problems. And hopefully the council will take that in consideration.
All right. Yes, thank you, Mr. Bajada. But before you go, you mentioned that you have a neighbour who's currently away who put in a submission, but says they didn't get an acknowledgement of making their submission. Is that what you understand the position to be?
And I didn't either, and nor did the lady at she's number 10.
Okay, but did I understand you correctly to say that your submission, you hand-delivered it, but I understand, did your neighbour put it in through the electronic online version?
She emailed it, yes.
Okay. Might just ask the Chief Community Planner, when people make a submission for an open public consultation such as this, is there normally a process for an automated acknowledgement or a direct acknowledgement, or we don't do that until after the matter is due to come to council? Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Yes, there is, and there should have been some correspondence said to those that had submitted as well to alert them to the fact that tonight was occurring and that the matter would come to before the OCM in August. So I may take that away and follow up to see if there's been a procedural breakdown.
I was advised that they were going to send me a letter on last Thursday.
All right. Well, what we'll do is, since we have your name, Mr. Bajada, we can look that up. But if I could trouble you, if you'd be able to speak to our council liaison officer who's just sitting over to the side, you would have seen her when you came in and signed in. If you could perhaps give the name of your neighbour to her, we can follow that up, because if that person has made a submission, we need to be able to be assured that their submission's been received. So if you'd be kind enough to be able to give that
no
to the council liaison officer, that would be helpful, and then we'll take that up on their behalf.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've got one question. How is the council going to supervise or make sure that people adhere to the constraints that you people put on short stays?
All right. I'm going to refer that question to Mr. Doy, the Chief Community Planner.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. That is a really good question. For instances like these, we may choose to take a proactive compliance approach. So any development approval that is provided, the applicant needs to obviously stay within the requirements of that development approval. If they do not, they may face compliance action. So for instance like this, we may take proactive compliance action. But in saying that though, as well, If there are complaints, we have, there's nothing like eyes from the local community. So if there are complaints about people staying there that are, and the applicant not following their management plan, then we will take compliance action.
Have you read their management plan?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Bajadu, you need to direct
sorry.
the questions to me.
I have read their management plan.
You should proceed on the basis that the town staff have read the management plan that's been submitted, and their report does cover what the town staff understand about that management plan. Did you have another question? Because this is only a question and answer session or a make a statement session, so we don't debate the matter per se. But we do work off the management plan. Mr. Doy, is it correct that if council were to grant approval for the short-term accommodation, that there's a requirement that the management plan or a copy of it is given to the nearby residential neighbours so that they know both what's in the management plan, which is to include the contact details for who they should call in the first instance if there's a problem? Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Yes, that is correct. That will be provided to surrounding neighbours.
All right, so at the moment, the management plan is a part of the documents that have been presented to council for us to consider. That is a key piece of information the town staff provide to us so that we can understand if we're satisfied. So the management plan is understood by us as it currently stands. But bearing in mind, it's up to the applicant to put up a management plan. It's up to us to decide if that's satisfactory.
One question then. Who's putting up the request, fire
Property
property
Services,
group,
yep.
or the actual owners of the house?
All right, direct that question to Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. The applicant is fire stays, but with any development application, it must have consent from the landowner.
So that means that the owner will be at arm's length from any problems.
Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. If compliance action needed to be undertaken, it would be the owner that would be accountable to that.
Are we able to contact the owner directly?
Sorry, Mr. Bajadu, you're probably going well over your 3 questions.
It is of concern, that's all.
I understand it is. What I can suggest to you is that, especially when it gets to questions that are really about legal matters, such as legal liability, I would strongly encourage you to call the town's administration office during weekday in normal hours and ask to have a discussion with one of the town's planning officers about this matter, or you're very welcome to come in and make an appointment and see one of the town's planning officers who can walk you through and answer all these questions for you. And that can be done ahead of the matter coming to council in 2 weeks' time. Because I feel like you've probably got more questions and maybe more arise as you get more answers. And unfortunately, we've still got other people who might want to ask questions tonight. So I want to be fair to everyone. All right, but I do encourage you to do that. Mr. Doy will concur. If you want to actually speak to someone in person, that option's available to you Monday to Friday throughout the day. And if you just call up in advance, someone can arrange to meet with you at a time that's convenient to you, or they can just talk you through it on the telephone.
Yep.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That is the last of the people whose names were actually on the list as having registered that they wanted to either ask questions or make statements. But I am aware that we've got a relatively large number of people in the public gallery tonight, more than we frequently get. So there may very well be some people who've got some questions to ask or statements they wish to make who hadn't put their name on the list. So this is that opportunity. If you could indicate if there is something that you would like to ask questions about or make a statement on, this is that opportunity for you to do so. No? Looks like people just came in support of other people, or they've heard everything that they needed to hear. All right, thank you. In that case, if there are no further people who wish to ask questions or make statements, I will close public participation time now at 7:04 p.m. So we'll now move on to the remainder of the agenda. Item 8 on the agenda is formal presentations. There are none tonight. Item 9 is deputations. We haven't received notification for any requests for deputations. Item 10 is method of dealing with agenda business. For the purposes of those who may not have attended an agenda briefing forum before, although our agenda has a number of items on it at this forum, we only deal with questions that have been received from elected members on specific items in the agenda. And the other items that are on the agenda, if no questions have been pre-submitted by elected members, then we don't go through the items in the agenda one by one. That makes our agenda briefing forums more efficient. So for the benefit of elected members, I'm going to read out the item numbers for which questions have already been submitted. If at the end of that list you wish to add another agenda item in, please let me know the number of the agenda item. If you wish to take one out because you've already received, for example, answers to your questions, please let me know and we will reduce the list accordingly. So the first item is 11.2, Policy 011, Elections Amendments. I put forward a request for that, so I've actually had my questions answered, so I'm taking that off the list. Is there anyone else who wanted 11.2 to remain on the list? No indication, so that comes off. 11.3, minor review of the corporate business plan. Councillor Devereux.
I had asked a question but received adequate response, so don't need to ask that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who want to ask questions about 11.3? No, in that case, we'll take that one off the list. Next item is 11.5, the South East Corridor Council's Alliance Memorandum of Understanding. I submitted a couple of questions about that, which were largely process-driven, and I've had some answers for that already. I don't wish to pursue that. Is there anyone else who wants questions asked about 11.5? No, in that case, that one will come off the list. 12.1, revocation of local planning policies numbers 15, 16 and 17, various design guidelines for the Albany Highway precinct. Councillor Hamer.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Just a quick question. Do we have an update on how that's travelling with WAPC, timeline-wise?
Sorry, Councillor Hamer, this isn't the time to ask the questions. I'm just going through which items we're going to be talking about, and I've got some questions about 12.1, of which that is one. So 12.1 remains in. 13.1, Strategic Waste Management Plan 2025 to 2030. 13.2 is TVP 2502, Cleaning of Council Buildings and Public Toilets. 13.3, 34 Goddard Street, proposed lease with Waveconn Pty Ltd. I submitted some questions about that and I've had answers to them which don't require me to ask them tonight. Is there anyone else who wants to ask questions about item 13.3, the proposed lease to Waveconn? No, in that case we'll take that one off the list. Oh, sorry, you want that one back on? Yep, okay, all right, that one's back in. At 13.6, Western Power Community Batteries. So out of that list, are there any other items on the agenda that elected members would wish to ask questions about that I haven't read out? Councillor Minson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. 12.2, which is the 12B Gresham Street.
Thank you. Anything further?
And another one, 13.5, which is the Black Oak.
All right. Thank you. Anything further from anyone else? Councillor Hamer?
Can I have 12.3, please, Mayor?
.3 is application for development approval for 18 Blair Athol Street. Anything further? No? All right, that looks like we have our final list. So on that basis, we're going to start with item 12.1, which is the revocation of local planning policies numbers 15, 16 and 17, which are design guidelines for the Albany Highway precinct. I submitted a couple of questions quite late this afternoon, and I just want to run through those questions now, given that there are very few of them. So my first question is, when will the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan be endorsed by the WA Planning Commission and or the Minister for Planning? I'll refer that question to the Chief Community Planner, Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I'd love to give you a hard date, but unfortunately I cannot. But what I can say is that the WAPC has 120 days to determine a structure plan from the date of receipt. Noting though that they can suspend or stop the clock if they need to, so they can suspend that timing throughout the assessment process. I will take it on notice though and see if I can get a rough indication as to how we are tracking. Yep.
Thank you. I will follow up then based on your answer. When you say they technically have 120 days from when it's submitted, when was it submitted and how far into the 120 days are we now?
The exact date and the days I'll need to take that on notice to give you the proper answer.
All right, thank you. So if we can take those answers to that question on notice, thank you. My second question, what status does the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan have under the Planning and Development Act by comparison to a local planning policy? Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. The structure plan enjoys a direct relationship under the scheme, and so some of you will remember that it obtained that via the scheme amendments that accompanied the recent report to Council, and therefore has more weight in planning assessments than what a normal local planning policy would do.
Thank you. Does a breach of the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan operate in the same way as a breach of a local planning policy under the Planning and Development Act? Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I will take that on notice just to give a fulsome answer.
Thank you. We'll take that question on notice. My third question, if Council revokes a local planning policy, when does the revocation become effective? Mr Doy.
At the point of Council's decision, but I will double check and take that on notice as well.
And my final question is, if there is likely to be a lag in the timing of the endorsement of the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan, or a possibility that that structure plan doesn't receive full endorsement or it requires an amendment, should the revocation of these 3 local planning policies await that endorsement? Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. That is a position that Council could take. However, the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan is considered a seriously entertained document. From memory, there is a definition of seriously entertained in the in item 12.1, and administration is keen to use the new precinct structure plan to inform its planning assessments within the structure plan area.
All right, that throws up another question for me. If it is the case that Council could await the full endorsement of the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan and not revoke the local planning policies until that time, would that prevent the town staff from taking into account the seriously entertained Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan in future planning development applications? Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. No, it wouldn't. We would just be in a situation where we had a seriously entertained precinct structure plan with 3 local planning policies still in operation. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Those were my only questions about 12.1. Are there any other questions about 12.1? Councillor Minson.
Thank you, Matt. Following on from some of those questions, so with the seriously entertained precinct structure plan, if it is the outcome that the WAPC recommends amendment to the precinct structure plan, it comes back to Council for amendment, is that still considered seriously entertained then if there's amendments proposed to it?
Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. If I will take this on notice just to be certain, but if the WAPC made a determination that resulted in an amendment to the precinct structure plan, it wouldn't be coming back to Council for approval. They would be making the decision with that modification.
Okay. So I guess following that, so considering that there is still a possibility that there are changes to the precinct structure plan that we might not be aware of and we might not agree with even, that we are still in the position to say that that's seriously entertained. And then I guess in that meantime as well, if there are changes to it, it would be considered seriously entertained with changes that we don't know and therefore don't know the implication of.
Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. My understanding of seriously entertain is that we would be using the document that's been endorsed by council, so not a working, evolving document changing behind the scenes with the assessment of the Department of Planning. We'd be using the document that was endorsed by council under the definition of seriously entertained.
Anything further, Councillor Minson? No?
That's it.
Any other questions from any elected members on item 12.1? No? All right, we'll move on to 12.2. This is the application for development approval, number 12B, Gresham Street, Victoria Park, retrospective change of use from single house to unhosted short-term rental accommodation. Questions in relation to this matter? Councillor Minson?
Thank you, Matt. My question's around, I guess, council's discretion on the matter. And particularly with clause 67 of the deemed provisions of the planning and development regulations. So is it, I guess, it's within council's discretion to, I guess, take some of those items, potentially the ones about impacts to the community, those types of items listed in the deemed provisions, and it's within council's, I guess, ability to make that discretionary position in terms of making an approval of this development?
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Yes, it is. So council can use I think it's clause 67 of the deemed provisions to justify a decision. Yep.
Thank you. And I've noted on previous, I guess, development applications that there, sometimes is, I guess, a breakdown table of those deemed provisions and I guess an assessment against each, deemed provision and the town's comment. Is something like that available by the town? I haven't noted it in the report, but is it something sitting behind the scenes that could be provided?
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I don't think in this instance it is sitting behind the scenes, but that there is the opportunity for us to provide some further information against the further matters to be considered in the further considerations part of the report.
So look, I think in order to get that, to make sure that comes onto the agenda for the council meeting in 2 weeks, Mr. Doy, maybe we should take on notice Councillor Minson's request for there to be information that addresses the deemed provisions in clause 67, because although they're recited verbatim in the report, there isn't the matching analysis that goes with them to this application. So if we can take on notice that information that matches that, that will ensure they end up in the further consideration of the next report. Anything further, Councillor Minson?
That's it, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions in relation to 12.2? I do have a question with this. If council were to form a view that they were not prepared to accept the officer's recommendation for approval, given this is a planning matter, that require an alternate motion to be put forward with reasons for why council would decline to approve the development application. Mr. Doy?
I'll take that on notice. Thanks, Mayor Vernon.
All right, thank you. We can take that one on notice, thanks. Anything further with regards to 12.2? No? All right, we'll then go to 12.3, which is another development application for development approval for 18 Blair Athol Street, East Victoria Park, change of use from single house to unhosted short-term rental accommodation. Some questions about that, Councillor Hamer?
Just one, thanks, Mayor. It's just about the consultation or level of engagement. This item only had one submission and the other two had a large number. Was the same consultation applied for all three properties?
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. The answer to that is yes.
Are there any other questions with regards to 12.3? No, I'm not seeing any further questions in relation to that. So on that basis, we'll move on to the next one on the list, which is 13.1. 13.1 is Strategic Waste Management Plan 2025 to 2030. Councillor Devereux, I think you had some questions in relation to this item.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I did. The first one was in relation to the incorporation in the plan of advocating for a circular economy. And I asked, would it be feasible to give clear reference to the meaning of circular economy and incorporate the specific principles of a circular economy?
Going to refer that question to Mr Denham, given he's acting Chief Operations Officer tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Yes, the town is happy to include an explicit definition of circular economy within the body of the Strategic Waste Management Plan and to make reference to the core principles that underpin this concept. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Devereux?
Given the intention to make that definition clear in the principles, is there, on the basis of what is in the document, was there already an explicit understanding of that already, or was that just indicating that that would be investigated and included in the future?
Mr Denham?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. We would be making an explicit addition to the document to provide for this comment, for this concept and indeed its core principles.
I think Councillor Devereux's question, though, was apart from that, is there, in the town's view, a demonstrated understanding within the document so far of the principles of the circular economy? That was the point you were getting at, wasn't it, Councillor Devereux? Not just the statement, we can include a definition, but you want to know that the principles are embedded into it in a sense.
Yes, and in a sense, given it is embedded in the document, was there already one that was in mind? Yes.
Was there already one that was in mind, Mr Denham?
If we could take that on notice, please.
Right, we'll take that on notice. Anything further?
I did have a couple of others, and I don't think I saw a response to these. One was in relation to the same item. Has the town purchased container deposit scheme collection devices that have been attached to existing public bins in the town, in addition to those that I understand were already obtained free from the scheme?
Mr Denham?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. No additional CDS collection devices over and above those provided for free through the scheme have been purchased. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question was, given page 24 of the document under future public place disposal actions, says in 2.3.1, consider providing extra CDS receptacles in public places. I wanted to ask, would it be possible to plan to provide CDS receptacles, particularly those that can, as we have had, just attach to existing bins, and could these be put at a representative sample of different key town locations, for example, town centres, as an additional public education measure that shows the value of circular economy?
Mr Denham?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. The answer is yes, we can plan to provide CDS receptacles in public places and to add some wording to this effect in the action. Thank you.
Last question in relation to that. If that is, as it sounds, considered feasible, is there an estimated cost of a measure like this across a representative sample of bins in the town?
Mr Denham?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. We are seeking a cost for these based on a nominal number of, say, 50 existing public bins, and we will advise as soon as we have that cost.
So, Mr Denham, is that one that I should seek to take on notice, or is it something where you don't know that you'll have the answer within the next 2 weeks before the matter comes to council?
I'm not certain we will have the answer before we come to council, Mayor Vernon.
I think on that basis I'll take it on notice, so if you do have the information it can go in the further consideration, but if you don't have it, the further consideration will have to say you don't yet have that cost. Right.
Many thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about this? Councillor Miles?
I just had a couple of questions about the images. So in policy 103, we talk about having relevant images in our communications, and I was just wondering why there was a bus on the front cover and whether we could make that an image that was more related to the waste element of the strategy.
Mr Denham?
Thank you, Chair. I'll take that on notice, please.
Thanks. We'll take that on notice. Councillor Miles?
And just one more question. Building on what Councillor Devereux just asked, there's also an image of the circular economy included on, sorry, I have too many tabs open. I've got to find my, on page 4. And looks like it's just a stock image that's been taken from the interwebs. And I was wondering if we're going to be using the Ellen MacArthur Foundation definition of the circular economy, which is, I guess, the one that's widely accepted, whether we could choose an image that sort of better reflects the circular economy rather than this one, which I feel like is not reflecting it as well. Please.
Mr Denham, do you wish to take that one on notice?
Yes, please, yeah.
We'll take that on notice. Anything further, Councillor Miles? That's it. Any other questions about this item? Councillor Cruiser?
Thank you. One of the suggestions from the community regarding the waste management plan is that the town acquire a 3D printer to be used to help with the repair of broken items. Is that something that has been considered already?
Mr Denham?
Take that on notice, please, Chair.
All right, we'll take that on notice. Anything further, Councillor Cruiser?
Yes, on page 26, we discuss looking for a place that we might host a reuse centre and repair centre. And it says that there are ongoing discussions about where that might be located, hopefully somewhere within or close to the boundaries of the town. Is it possible to get a little bit more information about whether this is something that we're thinking of doing or something that's already underway?
Mr Denham?
If we take that on notice, please, Chair.
We'll take that on notice. Anything further?
There's also brief mention of repair cafes that might be sponsored by or supported by funding from the Waste Authority. Is this something that has been actively explored at all?
Mr Denham?
If we could take that on notice, please.
We'll take that on notice.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this item? No? All right. We will then move on to item 13.2, which is TVP Tender 2502, cleaning of council buildings and public toilets. Councillor Hamer?
Thanks, Mayor. My questions might be asked in the confidential setting at the end of the meeting, if possible.
Yes. Do they relate to the confidential tender evaluation? All right, then we'll have to put that through into confidential session, which we'll do at the end. Okay, so we'll park 13.2. Were there any questions about 13.2 that didn't relate to the tender evaluation report? No. In that case, we go on to 13.5, which relates to the... Sorry? I took it out. Someone wanted to put back in. Oh, Councillor Hamer, did you want 13.3 put back in? Because I took it out, but the Manager of Governance is suggesting to me that went back in.
I just had one small question about that.
Oh, okay. All right, 13.3 then is 34 Goddard Street, proposed lease with Waveconn Pty Ltd.
The wording in the report mentions that the lease will commence from 1st of July, or a date that's already passed. Just wanted to check on why that was.
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. The thinking behind that was simply to recover additional rental in the event that the lease is approved by council and indeed is successfully processed through the Local Government Act compliance process and formation of lease documents.
Given that their telecommunications equipment still sits on the top of our building, Councillor Hamer, and they've been getting the benefit of it this time. Yep. Anything further about that one? All right, thank you. We'll go on to 13.5, as I mentioned before, which is request by Black Oak for consent to subleases and security for 15 Hillview Terrace, Elizabeth Bailey Park. Councillor Minson.
Thank you. Just a clarifying question. So do the tenants' responsibilities under the main lease with the town remain unchanged, considering the implications of the subleases and security arrangements proposed?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. The answer to that is yes, the tenants' responsibilities under the main lease remain unchanged. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Minson?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Any other questions about this item? No? In that case, we go to 13.6, Western Power Community Batteries. So in relation to this, Councillor Devereux, I think you had some questions.
Yes, Mayor Vernon. The first one was, can the town advise if there are specific plans to complement the specific battery location proposals from Western Power with items like decorating the batteries with artwork or other measures like tree planting that could provide added amenity and community benefit to the sites where they would be located?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Could I just ask if the question's repeated? I perhaps didn't catch it.
Mr Councillor Devereux, if you could just repeat the question, thanks.
My apologies if I spoke too fast. Can the town advise if it has specific plans to complement the specific battery location proposals from Western Power by decorating the batteries with artwork or other measures like tree planting to provide added amenity and community benefit to the sites where they would be located?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Take the question on notice, please.
We'll take that question on notice. Councillor Devereux, do you have a further question?
Yes. Are there specific rules about how far trees or other vegetation can be from the site of a community battery?
Mr Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Western Power has not provided details of specific rules about how far trees or other vegetation can be from the site of a community battery. They may indeed have specific rules on the subject, and these will be requested. But in general, I can confirm from our considerable dealings with Western Power over vegetation that they are acutely aware of the sensitivity surrounding trees and avoiding damage to or removal of trees wherever possible. Thank you.
Councillor Devereux.
Thanks. Last one was, are there any trees or tree roots likely to be specifically affected by the current proposed battery locations? And if so, is there any leeway to request the site of any of the batteries to be flexible enough to move in minor ways to accommodate the maximum protection for any trees in the near vicinity?
Mr Denham.
If we could take that on notice, please.
Take that on notice.
Thanks.
Any further questions?
No.
No. Are there any other questions about this item? I do have a question. Has Western Power provided the town with any details about the, I don't want to call it standard, but the usual noise emitted from a community battery of the type and style proposed to be installed in these three parks by Western Power? Mr Denham.
You could take that on notice, please.
Thank you. My next question relates to the 3 attachments that were given to us, 13.6.1, 2 and 3, which contained the proposed locations. I noticed that the proposed locations for Coolbardie Park and Parnham Park appear to be near trees, but not obviously either under trees or through a tree area, but the Manners Reserve one shows the proposed location would presumably be under the tree canopy in that area or potentially requiring trees to be removed. It's a little hard to tell from looking down at it. If council were to approve this request, do we then have the power to direct Western Power to move the location of the battery to some other place? Or have these locations been chosen by Western Power for their optimisation of the service, such that if we do approve the request, we can't do anything to shift the location if it turns out that it's too close to trees, or it essentially would require the trees to be removed in order for the batteries to be installed? Mr. Denham.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. There has been considerable liaison with Western Power about vegetation and trees and the siting of these community batteries, but I will take the question on notice, please, just to get you a full answer.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about this item? Councillor Miles?
I might have missed it, but was there a reason why we decided to go for potentially two batteries in 2 different places rather than just one location?
Mr. Denham?
If we could take the question on notice, please.
Yes, we'll take that on notice. If I could just go back also, Mr. Denham, to my earlier question about the opportunity that we might have to influence the location. I do note the officer recommendation is that we would approve the installation request at the locations as depicted on attachments 1, 2 and 3. So just want to make it really clear that that's what I'm asking about, because those words in the recommendation appear to me to be pretty fixed. And if we were to approve the installation at the preferred location as depicted in those, and then something comes up that shows that Western Power suddenly says, well, actually our preferred location, you've got too many trees nearby, too much vegetation, and they want to move it and we don't want it moved, they get to rely on a recommendation or a resolution of council that says we agreed to the location as depicted. So it's that point that I'm interested in. Thank you. Any final questions on this item? No, in that case, that brings us to the end of the items that we indicated for questions on tonight's agenda, save obviously for the confidential item. So moving through the agenda, item 16 on the agenda is motion of which previous notice has been given. There are none in the agenda. Item 17 is public participation time, which I now open at 7:38 p.m. again. As I read out at the beginning of tonight's forum, we have public participation for a second time tonight. It is available to anyone who didn't ask questions or make a statement at the first part of the forum tonight. So if there's anyone who has any questions now or wishes to make a statement, this is your opportunity to indicate to me that you'd like to come forward. Nobody indicating that they've got questions to ask or statement to make who didn't take the opportunity earlier. So on that basis, at 7:39 p.m, I'll close the second public participation time. Item 18, questions from elected members without notice on general matters. Do we have any such questions? Councillor Devereux.
A couple of questions, Mayor Vernon. The first one was just whether there's an update on the traffic calming that was to be done on Rutland Avenue in terms of timing.
Thank you. Mr. Denham, I'm going to have to go to you if you have any update.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. We do not have an update on timing at the moment.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Second question was just, does the town monitor dust or any other substances, liquids or gases that come from the concrete batching plant in Con Street, Carlisle?
Going to go to Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. In regards to the current operations of the concrete batching plant, I'm not sure, and I will take that on notice. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Devereux?
No, thanks, Mayor Vernon.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Minson?
Thank you. Just on the concrete batching plant on Cone Street, does the town have a timing of when the responsible authorities report would come to council for its endorsement before going to the SDAU?
Yes, on the 2nd of September at a special council meeting to be called by me.
Perfect.
Is that precise enough?
That's very precise. Yeah. 6 o'clock, I'll be here.
No, it'll be earlier than that. It'll be 5 o'clock that night because it's ahead of agenda briefing forum, and so we need to allow enough time for it to be held. Any further questions? No, there being no further questions, we'll go on to item 19, which is confidential items. So we do have a request to deal with questions about a confidential attachment to a non-confidential item, which means we do need to deal with that in a closed session because it relates to a confidential tender evaluation report, which is available to elected members. So for that reason, what I now need to do is inform members of the public gallery that we now need to close the forum to deal with this confidential matter. So I now need to request all members of the public gallery to please vacate the chamber so that we can deal with this confidential item. All right, so we've now resumed and we've finished consideration of a confidential matter related to item 13.2, which again noting is not a confidential item in the council agenda, but it does have a confidential attachment and the questions related to the confidential attachment. So there being no further business of this agenda briefing forum, it's 7:51 p.m. and I will declare the agenda briefing forum is now closed. Thank you. Thanks everyone, especially those who joined us on live streaming tonight. Good night.